Rain poured relentlessly, soaking me to bone as I trudged home, exhausted from another day of bills, work, and the relentless demands of being a single dad. That's when I saw her, a small girl, shivering, alone, asleep on a wet playground bench. Something inside me snapped. I couldn't leave her there. I brought her home, not knowing her name, her story, or the shadows that haunted her past. In that moment, my life, and hers, changed forever. Secrets, fears, and trust would collide, testing the limits of love, patience, and courage. Can a broken world still allow for hope and redemption? If yes, like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. The rain didn't let up. It pounded my coat, soaked through my shoes, and made the streets slick and empty. I tugged my hood tighter, hunched over, counting the blocks to my apartment. Bills, dinner for Mia, work. The constant worry of keeping both of us afloat pressed on me like the clouds above. I tried to focus on breathing, on putting one foot in front of the other, but my mind kept racing. Why did I agree to do the extra shift today? I muttered to myself, shaking my head. My reflection in a puddle wobbled with the ripples of rain. God, I'm tired and I can't even take a day off. Not with rent due, not with... My voice trailed as I noticed movement out of the corner of my eye. A small figure huddled on a wet playground bench. Rain ran in streams over her thin jacket. She shivered, curled up like she was trying to disappear into the world. My stomach twisted and I paused. Hey, you okay? I called softly, stepping closer. She didn't move. I knelt a few feet away, the water soaking my jeans, my coat plastered to my back. Her hair was damp, clinging to her face. She looked no older than 10. Shoes? None. Socks? Soaked. My chest tightened. Hey, come on. You can't stay out here. My voice sounded louder than I intended. She flinched at the sound, but she didn't run. She just stayed there, curling tighter into herself. I debated, should I call someone? The cops? Social services? No, I couldn't. Not tonight. Not in this rain. My own daughter would be terrified if she saw me leaving her side to get some stranger taken away. All right, kid, let's get you somewhere warm. I dropped my bag, crouched down, and gently touched her shoulder. She jerked slightly, but she didn't bolt. That small hesitation, that tiny trust, told me I was doing the right thing. You got a name? I asked. Nothing. She just stared at me with wide, wary eyes. I nodded slowly. Okay, we'll figure out. But first, dry off. I grabbed my raincoat from the bench and draped it over her shoulders. Her shivering slowed, and I felt a little relief. She was so small, fragile, yet somehow stubborn in her silence. I lifted her carefully, and she let me. No struggle, just quiet acceptance. My chest felt heavy with responsibility I hadn't asked for but couldn't ignore. Easy. I won't hurt you. Just my apartment. Warm. Food. That's it. I whispered. I walked briskly, careful not to slip on the slick pavement. Every so often, she shifted, pressing closer to me, seeking warmth. My heart ached. How many nights had she been out here alone? How many times had she wished for someone to show up? Back at the apartment, I stripped off my coat, dripping water onto the floor. You stay right here, I said, setting her gently on the couch. I'll be right back. She watched me, silent. I pulled a towel from the bathroom, handed it to her. Here, dry yourself. Her fingers trembled as she took it. I watched her for a long moment, unsure if I should speak or just let her be. Finally, I said, I'm a single dad. My daughter's asleep. I know what it's like to be alone sometimes. Still nothing. Just a slight nod, almost imperceptible. I went into the kitchen, quickly boiling water for some tea, rummaging for bread. My mind kept spinning. Who was she? How long had she been out there? Could I even help her? I'd never taken in a child like this before. My instinct said yes. My doubt screamed no. When I returned, she was sitting quietly, towel around her shoulders, still shivering. I knelt in front of her. We'll figure this out together. I'll make sure you're safe. You don't have to be scared. Her lips trembled, and for a second, I thought she might cry. Instead, she just blinked at me. I smiled softly, not because I had all the answers, but because she had let me in even a little. I settled beside her, handing her a cup of warm tea. The rain outside kept falling relentless, but inside a small, fragile warmth began to grow. I didn't know her story yet, and I didn't know how this night would change everything, but I knew one thing. I couldn't leave her out there, and somehow I had a feeling she wouldn't let me. I watched her sip the tea I had poured, the steam rising and curling into the small kitchen. She held it carefully, fingers barely touching the rim, like it might burn her or spill her secrets. I kept my distance, giving her space, though every instinct in me screamed to wrap her up in a blanket and never let go. "Do you want some bread?" I asked. My voice sounded too loud in the quiet apartment. She nodded once, slowly. I tore a piece, buttering it roughly, then offered it to her. "Here, careful, it's warm." She took it, eyes downcast. I sat across from her, just watching, trying to read her without pressing. Every movement, every blink seemed like a story she wasn't ready to tell. "You can stay here," I said softly, "as long as you need. I know what it's like to be alone, so..." My words trailed. I wasn't sure why I said it. Maybe because admitting it aloud made it real, made the space between us a little safer. She didn't answer, but she didn't run. That counted. I ran my hand through my hair, realizing how soaked I still was. "Hold on, I'll get you a dry towel and some socks. You can't walk around like this." She flinched when I stepped closer, but didn't back away. That small hesitation was progress. I dug through a drawer and found the biggest, softest towel I could reach, along with a pair of my old socks. I knelt beside her, draping the towel over her shoulders. "Better?" I asked. Her shoulders relaxed just a fraction. That was enough for me. "You're safe here," I said, more firmly this time. "No one's going to hurt you. I promise." A faint shiver ran through her, but she leaned a little closer. I fought the urge to pull her into my arms right then and there. Instead, I sat back, let her find comfort on her own terms. I grabbed a few chairs and moved them so she could sit on the couch with the towel wrapped around her. The apartment smelled of damp coats and old carpet, but it was warm. She looked around, eyes wide, taking in the small living room and kitchen, the toys scattered from my daughter Mia's earlier chaos. I don't know your name," I said gently. "If you want, you can tell me." A pause, then a soft, almost whispered, "Lila." "Lila," I repeated, testing the sound. "That's a beautiful name. Nice to meet you, Lila." She looked down at her hands, fiddling with the towel. I don't have anywhere to go," she said finally. My stomach tightened. I hated that she had to say it aloud, hated that a child had to live through that fear. "You're here now," I said, "and I'm not going to let anything happen to you." She didn't respond, but I saw her shoulders relax a little more. That was trust. Small, fragile, but there. I'm a single dad. I admitted more for myself than her. I live here with my daughter. Mia, she's asleep right now, but she's loud and messy, but nice. You like her?" A tiny smile flickered across her face. "I hope so." I stood and walked to the counter, pouring some warm water for another cup of tea. My mind raced. I had no idea how to do this, no idea how to take in a child, someone who had been abandoned, someone who clearly needed more than I'd ever had to give. But watching her curl slightly into the towel, sipping the tea, I knew I had to try. "Do you want to take a shower?" I asked. "We can get you cleaned up." I mean, if you want, I'll leave the door open a little." She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay." As she disappeared into the bathroom, I leaned against the counter, listening to the water start. My chest was heavy, but it wasn't the same as before. It wasn't just worry. I felt responsibility, yes, but also something else. Something like hope, maybe even purpose. I thought about Mia, about how our little apartment would suddenly feel bigger, louder, and fuller with Lila here. I thought about what it would take to earn her trust, to keep her safe, to be the dad she needed. And I realized I didn't have a choice. I wouldn't let her back out into the rain. Not tonight. Not ever. She emerged a few minutes later, wrapped in a towel, hair damp but clean. I smiled awkwardly because it was the first time I felt like maybe I could do this. Maybe I could be more than a tired, struggling dad. Maybe I could be someone who mattered. Dinner's ready, I said softly, leading her to the couch. She looked at me, hesitated, then followed. And for the first time since I found her shivering on that wet bench, I felt like we had a chance. A real chance. Lila sat on the couch, her towel still wrapped around her shoulders, and I could see the way her fingers fidgeted with the fabric. I poured myself a cup of tea and handed her one as well. "You're quiet," I said, settling in beside her. "Do you want to tell me more about yourself?" She shook her head slowly, eyes downcast. I don't think I can." I nodded. "That's okay. You don't have to talk if you're not ready. We can just be here for now." A silence settled between us, filled only by the soft ticking of the kitchen clock. I watched her small frame, the way she tucked her knees under her chin. Something in me ached. This child had been through something I couldn't even begin to imagine. "I'm going to help you," I said quietly. "I don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out." "Okay." She gave a tiny nod, almost imperceptible. I took a sip of my tea, my mind racing. Bills, work, Mia, and now Lila. Another child depending on me. But somehow, it didn't feel impossible. Just heavy, heavier than I thought I could carry. But I would carry it. I had to. "I'm going to call a few schools tomorrow," I said, testing the waters. "See if anyone's missing a student. Maybe that will help us figure out where you belong." Her eyes flicked up at me for a moment. "Do I have to go back?" I shook my head quickly. "No, not if you don't want to. We'll figure out together. You don't have to do anything you're not ready for." She nodded again, but I could tell the thought of being sent away frightened her. I wished I could promise more than I could. But for now, my words had be enough. "Do you want to eat something?" I asked, gesturing toward the kitchen. She hesitated, then got up slowly. "Okay." I watched her move around, careful not to slip on the wet socks, careful not to say the wrong thing. She opened the cupboard, scanning the few snacks I had left, and finally settled on a small granola bar. I smiled. She was making choices, even small ones, and that was progress. "Good choice," I said, handing her a glass of water. She looked at me, the faintest shadow of a smile tugging at her lips. "Thanks," she murmured. "Of course," I said. "You're welcome. Hey, can I ask you something?" She froze slightly, then nodded. "What's your favorite color?" She blinked, unsure if this was a test. "Blue." "Blue," I repeated. "I like blue too. Mine's green." "Don't tell Mia. She'd make fun of me." A small laugh escaped her. Just a tiny, breathy sound, but it felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. I sipped my tea, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt all day. "See? Little by little, we figure each other out." Her voice was quieter now. I like you." I froze for a moment, my heart caught in my chest. "I like you too, Lila. I promise you I'll take care of you." She leaned back into the couch, still wrapped in the towel, and for the first time, I saw some relief in her eyes. Not trust yet, not fully, but a crack in the wall she had built around herself. The clock ticked on. My mind wandered, thinking about tomorrow. School calls, paperwork, maybe even social services if I was lucky. But for now, I had her here. Safe, breathing, alive. That was all that mattered. "You're safe?" I repeated, almost to myself. "I won't let anything happen to you. Not while I'm here." Her small hand brushed against mine, tentative, testing. I held it gently. "I'm scared," she admitted, just above a whisper. I squeezed her hand lightly. "I know. I'm scared too. But we're in this together now. You and me. I won't let anything happen to you." Her eyes met mine, wide and uncertain, but for a moment, I saw a flicker of hope. I leaned back, letting the silence settle again, comfortable now, not heavy. Lila was here. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know her story, her past, or her fears. But I knew one thing: I would fight for her. Every day, every step, no matter what. And in that small, quiet apartment, with rain still dripping from the windows outside, I realized this was just the beginning. There would be challenges. There would be fear. But there would also be trust, laughter, and maybe even family. And somehow, I knew we could get there together. The next morning, I thought we might have a quiet day. I was wrong. I stepped outside to grab the mail, and immediately I noticed the glances, neighbors peering from windows, whispers as I passed by. One woman, Mrs. Delgado, leaned over her fence, eyebrows raised. "Morning, Mr. Carter," she called, voice sweet but tense. "New friend with you today?" I forced a smile, gripping Lila's hand a little tighter. "Morning. She's, just visiting." Mrs. Delgado's lips pressed together, and I could feel her skepticism radiate. I nodded politely and hurried back inside, closing the door behind me. Lila tugged on my sleeve. "Why are they looking at us?" she asked softly, eyes wide. "They don't understand," I said, kneeling to her level. "Sometimes people are curious when something's different. Nothing to worry about. Not yet." She didn't look convinced, and I couldn't blame her. I knew how it felt to be stared at, to feel the weight of someone else's judgment. I set breakfast on the table, try to keep things normal. Toast, eggs, tea. The simple routines of life became a shield against the uncertainty outside. "So, do you want to tell me anything about where you've been?" I asked, try to sound casual, but my heart thumped against my ribs. She shook her head. "I don't think so. Not yet." "Okay," I said softly, nodding. "You don't have to. I'm just asking because I want to help. That's all." She fiddled with the corner of her towel, avoiding my gaze. "You don't know me." "I know enough," I said firmly. "I know you're cold, tired, and scared. That's all I need to start. The rest we can figure out together." She gave a small nod, almost imperceptible. I smiled, letting her know it was okay. The morning stretched on, filled with quiet moments of eating, sipping tea, and watching the rain drip outside. Then a knock at the door made both of us jump. I opened it cautiously. Two neighbors stood there, Mr. Thompson, the man from across the hall, and his wife. Their faces were polite, but their eyes sharp, prying. "Just checking in," Mr. Thompson said. "Saw the little girl with you yesterday. Thought we should make sure everything's all right." I exhaled slowly. "We're fine," I said. "She's safe, and she's with me now." "Really? That's all you need to know." Mrs. Thompson tilted her head, frowning. "You know, the town talks. People are worried. A single dad with a child you just found? It's unusual." I clenched my jaw but stayed calm. "I understand. I'm grateful for concern, but I've got this under control." They lingered a moment, glancing at Lila, who now hid behind me, peeking with wide eyes. I could feel her fear. My chest ached. "All right," Mr. Thompson said finally. "Just keep us posted. We only want the best." I nodded again, closing the door quickly, my hand still on the knob. Lila's grip on my arm was tight. "I don't want them to take me," she whispered. I knelt, looking her in the eye. "No one is taking you. Not while I'm here. I promise. You're safe with me. Always." Her small shoulders relaxed a little. "Promise? Promise," I said, and meant it with every ounce of me. The rest of the day passed in a blur of small routines. Helping her wash her face, brushing out her tangled hair, finding clothes that weren't soaked through. Every action was layered with care, every glance with reassurance. But the whispers outside never stopped. Through closed windows and half-open blinds, I could feel the curiosity, the judgment. I hated it, but I also understood it. People feared what they didn't know. And Lila, she had been forced to know fear far too early. I sat on the couch beside her, brushing a damp strand of hair from her forehead. "I can't promise people won't talk," I said softly, "but I can promise you, I'll protect you from all the things that matter. From the things that hurt you, I won't let them in here. This is our space." She leaned against me slightly, and I felt her trembling ease. I sipped my tea, letting the warmth fill me. Somehow we were finding a rhythm. A fragile one, yes, but ours. Outside, the neighborhood whispered. Inside, we were silent together, safe for now. And I knew that tomorrow and the days after would bring more challenges, questions, curiosity, fear, but also small victories, trust, and slowly, maybe even peace. The sun hadn't even fully risen, and I was already frantic. I went to check on Lila, and the couch was empty. My stomach dropped. "Lila?" I called, my voice shaking. No answer. My heart started racing, and I ran to the window. No sign of her in the street. She wasn't supposed to wander off. Not after yesterday. Not ever. "Lila!" I shouted again, grabbing my coat. I ran out into the morning chill, my shoes slick on the wet pavement. Every block, every corner, my panic grew. "Please be somewhere safe," I muttered under my breath. Scanning the playground. My chest tightened when I saw the bench, the one I'd found her on days ago. Empty. "Lila!" I yelled, louder this time. My voice cracked. Then I heard a faint sniffle from behind the swings. I ran over and found her crouched, knees pulled to her chest, eyes wide and terrified. Hey, it's me," I said gently, kneeling down. "You scared me." She flinched but didn't run. I didn't want to go back there," she whispered. Her voice trembled and my heart twisted painfully. "What do you mean?" I asked softly. She looked down at her hands. The people, my guardian, they hit me." The words hit me harder than the cold wind. My chest tightened, anger and guilt mingling in a bitter knot. "Sure, hey, you're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you again." Tears ran down her cheeks. I brushed them away gently. "Come on, we're going home. Right now. No one can touch you there." She hesitated, fear still in her eyes. "They'll find me." "They won't. Not if I'm with you. Trust me. I'll protect you. I swear it." She finally nodded, and I stood, taking her small hand in mine. Her grip was tight, almost desperate, and I squeezed back, silently promising her everything I could. The walk back was tense but quiet. I kept one hand on her back, one holding hers, scanning every corner, every stranger. My mind raced. Why hadn't I called someone sooner? Why hadn't I protected her before I even met her? Guilt clawed at me, but I forced myself to focus on the present. Back at the apartment, I locked the door and led her inside. "Sit down," I said, my voice soft but firm. "I want you to feel safe." She sank onto the couch, trembling. I crouched beside her. "Can you tell me more?" "About everything." She nodded slowly, biting her lip. My guardian, they said I wasn't good enough. I had to do everything right. If I didn't, they hurt me. Her voice faltered. I had nowhere to go. I pulled her into my arms gently. "You don't have to do anything like that ever again. Not here. I won't let anyone hurt you." Her tears soaked my shirt, and I held her tighter. I'm scared," she admitted. "I know," I whispered. "I'm scared too, but we're together now. You're not alone anymore. Not ever." She buried her face into my chest, trembling. I felt her trust growing in small increments, fragile as it was. I thought of my own daughter, Mia, asleep in her room, and the two of them, so different, yet both my responsibility. I helped her change into dry clothes, washed her face, brushed her tangled hair. Every small act was a reassurance, a promise that the world outside couldn't hurt her while I was near. As I fixed her a cup of warm tea, she peeked at me. You won't let them find me?" "Never," I said firmly. "I'll fight anyone who tries. You're safe here, Lila. Always." She took a sip, shivering less now. I poured one for myself, sitting down beside her. "You know," I said softly, "we're going to figure out the rest soon. Your past, we'll face it. But right now, just breathe. Just be here with me." Her small hand brushed mine, and I held it gently, feeling a spark of something fragile and bright. Trust? I leaned back, letting the silence settle, listening to the rain patter outside. My chest ached with the weight of responsibility, but also with hope. Lila had chosen me to protect her, and I would, every single day, no matter what it took. And in that small, quiet apartment, with her safe and trembling in my arms, I realized something I hadn't before. Being a father wasn't just about keeping my own daughter safe. It was about holding another life, fragile and scared, and showing her she could trust again. I would never let her go. Lila curled up on the couch, her knees tucked under her chin, and I sat beside her, careful not to crowd her. The apartment was quiet except for the sough of the heater and the occasional drip from the rain outside. You don't have to talk if you don't want," I said gently, sipping my tea. "But I want you to know I'm here. Always." She stared at the floor, silence stretching between us. Then, in a small, broken voice, she whispered, I wasn't safe. Ever." My chest tightened. "I know," I said softly. "I can see that now. And I'm sorry you had to go through it. But you don't have to anymore." Her lips trembled, and she finally looked up at me. They hurt me. If I cried, if I did something wrong, they hit me. I tried to do everything right. I thought, maybe then they'd stop. I swallowed hard, anger and guilt crashing into me. "You did nothing wrong, Lila. None of it was your fault. None of it." She nodded, eyes glistening. I ran as far as I could. I didn't know where to go. I just ended up on the bench in the rain. I reached for her hand, holding it gently. "You ended up here, safe, and I'm going to make sure nothing like that ever happens again. I promise." She sniffled, her small shoulders trembling. Do you really mean it?" "Every word," I said, voice firm. "You're my responsibility now. I'll fight for you, no matter what." She leaned slightly against me, still cautious, still unsure. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I know," I whispered. "And that's okay. Being scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. We'll face it together, step by step." We sat like that for a while, her leaning into me just a fraction, my hand over hers. The silence was comfortable now, filled with trust slowly building between us. After a while, she looked up, eyes searching mine. Do you have a daughter?" I smiled faintly. "Yeah, Mia. She's asleep now. Loud, messy, and endlessly curious. You'd probably like her when you meet her." Her lips curved into a tiny smile. "I hope so." I laughed softly, the sound easing the tension in the room. "You will? Trust me." We moved to the kitchen, and I helped her wash her face and brush her tangled hair. Every movement was deliberate, slow, careful, an unspoken promise that I wouldn't hurt her, wouldn't rush her, wouldn't judge her. "You make it look easy," she said quietly, half teasing, half serious. I chuckled. "I'm not, but I try. That's all anyone can do. Try." She studied me for a moment. I like you," she said softly. I felt a lump in my throat. "I like you too, Lila. More than you know. And I'll do everything I can to keep you safe and happy." She smiled faintly, just enough to feel real. I knew it was fragile, but it was progress. A small victory in a long fight. We settled on the couch again, her wrapped in a dry blanket, sipping warm tea. "Do you think I'll ever be safe?" she asked. "Yes," I said firmly. "You already are. And every day after this, I'll make sure it stays that way. No one can touch you. Not here, not while I'm around." She leaned her head on my shoulder, tentative, and I wrapped an arm around her. "You're learning to trust me," I whispered, "and I'll earn that trust every day, step by step. Promise." She nodded, eyes closed. "I want to trust," she murmured. "You can," I said softly. "And you will. I'll make sure of it." For the first time since I found her shivering on that playground bench, I felt the weight of responsibility shift slightly, not just heavy, but meaningful. Painful, yes, but also full of purpose. I thought about the coming days, school calls, possible social services, questions we would have to answer. But for now, I let this small moment sink in. The warmth of tea, the quiet of the apartment, the gentle rise and fall of her breathing beside me. I realized then that being a father wasn't just about keeping a child safe physically. It was about holding a life fragile and scared, and showing her that she mattered, that she belonged. And I would do that every day, no matter the cost. Because right now, in this quiet apartment, wrapped in a blanket of trust and tea steam, I knew we had taken the first real step toward healing. The next morning, I woke to the sound of knocks, soft at first, then insistent. I froze for a moment, heart thudding. Who could it be this early? Dad! Lila's voice trembled from the couch. She peeked from under the blanket, eyes wide. I got it, I whispered, motioning for her to stay put. I opened the door to find a woman in a crisp jacket and a clipboard in her hands. Behind her stood a man with a serious expression. "Good morning," the woman said politely, though I could feel the authority in her tone. "I'm from Child Services. We receive a report regarding a young girl in this building." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Yes, she's here. Safe. With me. I'm her guardian now." The man raised an eyebrow. "And you are?" "I'm her protector, her caretaker. I found her yesterday and brought her in from the rain. She's safe, warm, and fed." The woman studied me, pen poised over her clipboard. "Do you have any documentation of your guardianship?" I shook my head slowly. "No, but I've made sure she's safe. That's what matters right now." Lila peeked around the corner, trembling. "Dad?" I crouched down, putting a hand on her shoulder. "It's okay," I whispered. "I've got you. Nobody's going to hurt you. Not today." The woman sighed. "We have to make sure everything is in order. Protocol." "I understand," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, even as my heart raced. "But she's scared and she needs stability. Please, let her stay with me while we sort this out." The man exchanged a look with the woman, then nodded. "We'll observe. But any sudden changes, we need to know immediately." "Understood," I said, keeping my gaze on Lila. She nodded faintly, trusting my presence. Once they left, I closed the door and sank against it. Lila ran to me, hugging my waist tightly. "They're going to take me away, aren't they?" "No," I said firmly. "I won't let them. We'll figure this out together. I'll make sure they see you're safe with me." She sniffled and buried her face against me. "Promise?" "Promise," I said, holding her tighter. "I'll fight for you every step of the way. No one's taking you from me." The day moved slowly. Every knock, every glance outside, every whisper I imagined from neighbors set me on edge. But in between the tension, Lila and I found small pockets of peace, making breakfast together, brushing her hair, sharing small laughs. "I like it here," she murmured one afternoon, holding a cookie in both hands. "It feels safe." "That's the point," I said with a small smile. "You belong here, Lila, no matter what anyone says or thinks." She nodded, eyes shining. "You really mean it?" "Every word," I said. "You're a part of this family now, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe." Even as I reassured her, I couldn't shake the feeling that the world outside our walls was watching. Curious neighbors gossip, the judgment in every glance. But for the first time, I felt ready to face it all. I had to, for her. Later that evening, I peeked out the window and saw Mrs. Delgado whispering to another neighbor, their eyes following our apartment. I clenched my fists briefly, then let them relax, let them whisper, let them watch. None of that mattered inside these walls. Lila came up behind me, her small hand slipping into mine. "They're looking at us again," she whispered. I squeezed her hand gently. "Let them. We know the truth, and that's all that matters. Here with me you're safe. Always." She nodded, leaning closer. "I like it when you say that." I smiled softly, resting my forehead against hers. "I'll keep saying it. Every day. Until you believe it. Step by step, Lila. That's how trust works." We stayed there a while, holding each other, letting the quiet of our apartment shield us from the murmurs outside. The world could watch, whisper, judge, but it couldn't touch what we'd built here. Trust, warmth, safety, and the beginning of a fragile, unshakable bond. And I knew that tomorrow and the days after would test us again. But for now, I could breathe. For now, she was safe. For now, we were together. The knock on the door was sharp this time, insistent, official. My stomach sank, and I felt Lila's small hand clutch mine, trembling. "It's okay," I whispered, kneeling beside her. "I'm right here. Nobody's going to hurt you." She nodded faintly, still trembling, and I took a deep breath before opening the door. Standing there were two stern-faced social workers, and a uniformed officer, papers and folders clutched tightly in their hands. "Mr. Carter," the woman said, "we need to speak with you about Lila." I straightened, keeping my tone calm, but my heart raced. "Of course. I'm her guardian. She's safe. That's all that matters." The officer cleared his throat. "We just need to verify some information. Ensure she's in a stable environment. Protocol." I nodded slowly. "Understood. She's been with me since yesterday. Warm, fed, and safe. I will answer any questions you have, but she is not going anywhere." Lila peeked from behind me, eyes wide and wary. "Dad?" I leaned down and whispered, "Stay close. I won't let them take you. Not while I'm here." She nodded, trusted me in a way that both broke and healed my heart. The social worker flipped open her clipboard. "We need to ask Lila some questions, too." I shook my head gently. "Not right now. She's safe here, and she's scared. I will speak for her until she's ready." The woman hesitated, then glanced at the officer. "We just want what's best." "So do I," I said firmly. "But what's best is letting her feel safe. She's already been through enough. Don't you understand that?" They exchanged glances, then the woman sighed. "Fine. We'll speak with you first. Step by step." I took a deep breath and began explaining everything. How I found on the playground the rain, the fear in her eyes. I spoke about bringing her home, giving her food, warm clothes, and safety. Every detail I shared was meant to paint a picture of trust, care, and protection. Throughout, Lila stayed close, peeking occasionally, absorbing the words. I could see her tension easing slightly as she realized she wasn't being forced into something she didn't understand. "Have you noticed any signs of trauma?" the officer asked. "Yes," I admitted. "She's cautious, fearful, and quiet at first, but she's learning to trust. Slowly, step by step, and I will make sure she knows she's safe." The woman flipped through her papers, eyes softening a little. "You've clearly taken her safety seriously." I nodded. "Every second she's with me, I'm responsible, and I take that seriously. I won't let her go back to fear. Ever." Finally, the officer spoke. "We'll need to do some background checks, contact her family or guardians. But given the circumstances, we see that she is safe here with you, at least for now." Relief washed over me, but I didn't relax completely. There would be more hurdles, more questions, more challenges. But for this moment, I had won a small victory. Lila stepped forward cautiously, looking at me with eyes that held both fear and hope. "Dad, you mean it? They're not taking me." I knelt, holding her shoulders gently. "I mean it. Nobody's taking you. You're safe. And I'll fight for you every step of the way. Promise." She let out a breath she'd been holding, a small smile forming. "Promise?" "Promise," I said, voice firm, unwavering. The social workers and officer began packing up their folders. I stood, letting Lila cling to me. "You've done well," the woman said softly. "It's clear she trusts you, and that matters more than anything on paper." I nodded, my chest tight with emotion. "Thank you. Just let me keep her safe." As they left, I closed the door and held Lila close. "See? We made it through," I whispered. She sniffled, leaning against me. I trust you, Dad." I smiled softly, brushing damp hair from her forehead. "And I'll earn that trust every day, step by step, no matter what comes next." We sat together on the couch, the rain outside still tapping the windows, but inside, for the first time, I felt a quiet triumph. Lila was safe. She trusted me, and we had faced the world together, and won, at least for now. I realized that fatherhood wasn't just about protecting from harm. It was about creating a space where trust could grow, where love could thrive, and where a child could finally feel home. And in that moment, holding her close. I knew we had reached the strongest point of our bond yet. No matter what storms came after this, we would face them together. Always. The apartment felt warmer than ever that evening. Rain had finally stopped, leaving the streets shiny and quiet. Lila curled up on the couch, blanket wrapped tightly around her, eyes half closed but alert. "I can't believe it's finally quiet," I said softly, sitting beside her. "No knocks, no whispers, no worries for now." She peeked at me, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I like it like this," she whispered. "Me too," I said, brushing her damp hair back from her face. "Safe. Just us." She leaned closer. "Dad, you really kept your promise, didn't you?" I held her hand gently. "Every word. I promise to keep you safe, and I always will." She looked down at our hands, then back at me. I trust you. I really do." Her words hit me in the chest. All the fear, the panic, the sleepless nights, and the fights to keep her safe, it was all worth this moment. I nodded slowly. "Good, because you can always trust me. Always." She snuggled into blanket, sighing softly. "Do you think we can stay like this? Just home? Safe?" I nodded, wrapping an arm around her. "Yes, we'll build our home together, step by step, and nothing will take that from us. Ever." She pressed her forehead to mine. "I like you, Dad." "I like you too, Lila," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "More than you know." We spent the evening quietly, sharing tea and small laughs. I could see the weight of the past finally lifting, if only a little. She laughed at Mia's little drawings on the fridge, and even tried to mimic some of her silly expressions. I watched her, feeling warmth spread through me, knowing she was slowly becoming part of our family. Later, I tucked her into a proper bed, the blanket soft and warm. She held my hand tightly as I whispered, "Sleep well, Lila. Tomorrow will be another step, but we'll face it together. I promise." "I know," she murmured, eyes closing. "I'm safe here." And she was. I stepped back into the living room, closing the door gently. My chest ached with relief and hope. This was what fatherhood was supposed to feel like: protecting, loving, and healing. The journey had been hard, frightening, and filled with uncertainty, but every moment led to this: trust, love, and home. I glanced around the apartment, imagining Mia awake, laughing, and finally seeing Lila as part of our little world. A world that felt complete, even with its imperfections. I realized then that being a single dad wasn't just about survival. It was about creating a life worth living, for my daughter, for Lila, and for myself. Every choice, every fear, every sleepless night had brought us here. I sat beside the couch where Lila had been, letting the quiet sink in. The rain had washed the streets clean, but more importantly, it had washed away a layer of fear from both our hearts. Tomorrow, the world might still stare, still whisper, still judge. But inside these walls, Lila and I built something stronger than gossip or fear, something unshakable. I whispered into the empty room, "We did it, Lila. We're home at last." A soft, sleepy voice answered from the bedroom, "Home! With you, Dad." I smiled, holding back tears. Yes, home. Home at last. No more running, no more fear. Just a quiet trust between a father and the child he vowed to protect. And for the first time in a long time, I believe that everything we had endured had been worth it. Because in the end, our bond, our trust, our home, was everything.